You just swabbed your cheek, sealed that little vial, and dropped it in the mail. 3 weeks later, you're staring at results claiming you're descended from ancient Celtic warriors, even though your grandmother's sitting right there telling you your family's been farming the same patch of Kansas for 5 generations. Congratulations, you've just been scammed. Consumer protection agencies identified over 200 fake genealogy companies in 2023 alone. 200. That's not a handful of bad actors. That's an entire shadow industry built on lies, preying on your most fundamental human desire to know where you came from. The average victim loses $500, but here's what makes this especially twisted. They're not just stealing your money. They're stealing your biological data, your literal genetic code. And once it's gone, you can't exactly grow new DNA. Take Maria from Phoenix. She paid $299 to learn about her ancestry, hoping to connect with distant relatives and understand her family's journey to America. The results? 87% Viking heritage. Maria's Mexican-American. Her great-grandmother was born in Guadalajara. The closest she's been to Scandinavia is watching Thor movies. But somehow a lab in who knows where determined she's basically a Norse warrior. Within 3 weeks, the company vanished. Website gone. Phone disconnected. Maria's DNA sample disappeared into the void along with her credit card information, which, surprise, got used for several mysterious charges in the following months. This isn't about getting weird percentages on a pie chart. These operations are sophisticated criminal enterprises that have figured out how to weaponize our deepest need to understand our identity. They're not just selling fake results. They're harvesting genetic data from thousands of people and disappearing into the digital ether. But how exactly do these predators operate, and why are they so successful? DNA scam companies don't target random people. They hunt for the most vulnerable. Adoptees searching for biological parents. People whose family records were destroyed in wars or disasters. Anyone with a family mystery that legitimate genealogy can't solve. These are the perfect victims because they're desperate for answers. When you've spent your entire life wondering about your roots, a company promising to unlock your genetic secrets hits differently. You're not just buying a product, you're buying hope. The scammers know this. FBI reports show fake DNA companies surged their advertising spend by 400% during November and December, specifically targeting Facebook users who engage with family reunion content or adoption support groups. They're literally stalking your emotional vulnerabilities through social media algorithms. But here's the genius part. Legitimate companies like Ancestry DNA and 23andMe have done the heavy lifting for these criminals. They've normalized the idea of mailing your DNA to strangers. They've built public trust in genetic testing. So when a fake company shows up with slick marketing and scientific-sounding language, your guard is already down. You see an ad promising to unlock your genetic heritage or discover your true ancestry, and it looks exactly like the real companies. Same professional websites. Same stock photos of diverse families hugging. Same promises about cutting-edge laboratory analysis. The crucial difference? Real companies are heavily regulated and have reputations to protect. Fake companies exist for exactly as long as it takes to collect DNA samples and payment information. Then they vanish, leaving victims with worthless results and their most intimate biological data in criminal hands. Think about what you're actually sending these people. Not just your credit card number, your complete genetic blueprint. Information that could theoretically be used for medical discrimination, insurance fraud, or sold to the highest bidder on dark web marketplaces. You're literally mailing strangers the biological code that makes you uniquely you. And once they have it, there's no getting it back. Understanding the victims is just the beginning. The actual mechanics of these scams are far more sophisticated than most people realize. Picture this: you're browsing Nordic Genetics Lab. Impressive website, professional photos of pristine laboratory facilities, testimonials from satisfied customers discovering their Scandinavian heritage. The scientists wear crisp white coats. The equipment looks cutting edge. You're convinced you're dealing with a legitimate research institution. Consumer Reports investigators discovered the truth. Nordic Genetics Lab was operating out of a strip mall in Tampa using a website template that cost $47 and stock photos lifted from an actual university in Sweden. The pristine laboratory facilities? They belong to Uppsala University, lifted straight from their website without permission. This is how these operations work. Scammers purchase expired domain names from defunct research institutions, giving their fake companies an instant veneer of legitimacy. A domain that once belonged to a real genetics lab suddenly redirects to a criminal enterprise, complete with fabricated credentials and stolen imagery. But here's where it gets truly absurd. Many of these fake labs never even process your DNA sample. Reporters at Vice sent identical samples to multiple suspected scam companies and received completely different results from each one. How's that possible? Simple. They're not testing anything. The results come from ancestry report templates populated by random percentage generators. Your Celtic warrior heritage? Generated by the same algorithm that might tell the next customer they're descended from Mongolian nomads. It's literally digital dice determining your supposed genetic history. Some operations take this fraud even further. Investigation teams found companies that simply Google your last name, find the most common geographic origins, and build your genetic profile around Wikipedia entries. Your grandmother's stories about the old country are probably more scientifically accurate than these lab reports. The truly disturbing part? While you're puzzling over why your results don't match your family history, these criminals have your actual DNA sample sitting in some unmarked facility, ready to be sold or used in ways you never imagined. Your DNA sample isn't the end game, it's the opening move. While you're scratching your head over those bogus Viking percentages, scammers are turning your personal information into a goldmine that keeps generating revenue long after they've disappeared. Cybersecurity firm Recorded Future tracked one fake DNA company that sold customer databases containing 50,000 profiles to 12 different criminal organizations. 50,000 people who thought they were learning about their ancestry became unwitting participants in a data trafficking operation that generated over $2 million in secondary revenue. Think about everything you handed over during registration. Full name, date of birth, address, phone number, email, credit card details, plus detailed family history questions about your parents, grandparents, medical conditions, and living relatives. That's not ancestry research data. That's a complete identity theft starter pack. Your DNA samples end up in unregulated research facilities where they're sold to anyone willing to pay. Black market buyers use genetic material for everything from insurance fraud schemes to creating fake medical profiles. Meanwhile, your family tree information helps build targeting profiles for financial scams against your relatives. But here's where it gets truly twisted. Those health predisposition claims in your fake results aren't random. Scammers specifically include warnings about genetic risks for diabetes, heart disease, or vitamin deficiencies. Within weeks, you'll receive targeted ads for expensive supplements and bogus medical treatments designed to address those exact manufactured concerns. One victim received results claiming a genetic predisposition to iron deficiency. 2 days later, Facebook ads started appearing for a $200 per month iron supplement from a company that didn't exist 3 months earlier. The supplement? Basically expensive multivitamins that cost $4 to manufacture. You paid for fake ancestry results, but you've actually signed up for a lifetime subscription to targeted fraud attempts. The scope of this data exploitation extends far beyond individual victims. It's creating systemic risks for entire families. The criminal network doesn't stop with you. Once they have your genetic data and family information, everyone connected to you becomes a target. Your parents, siblings, children. They're all now part of a database being sold to scammers who specialize in exploiting family relationships. The Federal Trade Commission documented a case where criminals used fake DNA results to convince a 78-year-old woman that her long-lost nephew, a person who didn't exist, needed $15,000 for emergency medical treatment. They knew her family names, her deceased relatives, even her late husband's military service record. Information harvested from her daughter's fake ancestry test. The woman lost her entire savings to a relative who never existed. This is happening thousands of times across the country. Elder fraud networks purchase family tree data specifically to target vulnerable seniors with fake emergency calls from supposed grandchildren or distant relatives. They know exactly which names to use, which family stories to reference, which emotional buttons to push. But it gets worse. Insurance companies are starting to use leaked genetic predisposition data, even fake data. People are being denied coverage based on fabricated health risks from bogus DNA reports. You could face insurance discrimination based on Viking warrior genes you never actually had. Your children's genetic information is compromised before they can even consent. Criminal organizations are building genetic profiles on minors, creating a shadow database that could follow them for decades. Future insurance applications, medical treatments, even employment could be affected by fake genetic data harvested when they were too young to understand the consequences. Law enforcement databases are becoming contaminated with false genetic profiles. When these fake samples end up in forensic systems, they could theoretically implicate innocent people in crimes or exclude actual perpetrators from investigations. Every swab you sent to a fake company didn't just compromise your privacy. It created ripple effects that could damage your entire family's financial and medical future for years to come. With stakes this high, you need to know how to protect yourself and spot these operations before they strike. You can protect yourself from these genetic predators, but it requires knowing exactly what to look for. Real DNA companies don't hide behind flashy marketing and impossible promises. They operate under strict scientific standards that scammers can't replicate. Start with accreditation. Legitimate laboratories are certified by organizations like the American Association of Blood Banks and the College of American Pathologists. These aren't participation trophies. They're rigorous certifications that require extensive documentation, regular inspections, and proven scientific protocols. Check the company's website for their accreditation numbers, then verify those numbers directly with the certifying organizations. Real companies never promise specific results. If someone guarantees you'll discover Viking heritage or promises to find living relatives in your area, run. Genetic genealogy involves statistical probabilities and database comparisons. No legitimate scientist can guarantee specific outcomes from your DNA sample. Watch for pressure tactics. Scammers love limited time offers, countdown timers, and emotional manipulation. Legitimate companies don't need to create false urgency because they're not disappearing next month. If the marketing feels more like a late-night infomercial than scientific research, trust your instincts. Genetic counselors recommend 3 verification steps before submitting any biological samples. First, check the Better Business Bureau rating and read actual customer complaints, not testimonials on the company website. Second, research the company executives on LinkedIn. Real scientists have professional histories and published research. Third, verify they have physical laboratory addresses and phone support, not just web forms and chatbots. Professional companies maintain transparent privacy policies explaining exactly how your data gets used, stored, and protected. If you can't find clear information about data retention and deletion policies, you're dealing with amateurs or criminals. The verification process takes 15 minutes, but it could save you from years of identity theft and compromised genetic privacy. Beyond individual vigilance, though, there are systemic changes that could protect everyone from these predators. The cavalry is finally coming. Senator Elizabeth Warren has proposed federal legislation that would require genetic testing companies to meet disclosure standards before they can legally operate. Every company would need to prove they're legitimate before collecting a single DNA sample. State attorneys general aren't waiting for federal action. They're coordinating multi-state investigations into fake DNA operations, sharing intelligence and resources to track down these criminals across state lines. When Michigan's Attorney General identifies a scam company, prosecutors in Florida and Texas get immediate alerts. These predators relied on jurisdictional confusion to operate. That advantage is disappearing. Consumer advocacy groups are pushing for mandatory cooling-off periods for genetic testing purchases. You'd have 72 hours to cancel your order and get a full refund, no questions asked. That's enough time to verify accreditation, research the company, and make sure you're not about to mail your DNA to criminals operating out of a strip mall. The National Consumer Law Center successfully lobbied for California's Genetic Privacy Act, which requires DNA companies to obtain explicit consent before sharing data and allows consumers to demand deletion of their genetic profiles. It's a model other states are already copying. But you don't need to wait for legislative solutions. If you've been scammed, report it immediately to the Federal Trade Commission and your state attorney general. Those reports build cases for prosecution and help investigators identify criminal patterns. Every victim who speaks up makes it easier to shut down these operations and recover stolen genetic data. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center specifically tracks genetic fraud. They're building a comprehensive database to identify fake companies and trace money flows. Your complaint becomes part of a federal investigation that could protect thousands of other potential victims. While systemic change takes time, there are immediate steps you can take to protect yourself and your family. Your genetic code is the blueprint of your identity. It's worth protecting from those who would exploit your curiosity for profit. Here's exactly how to defend yourself from these genetic predators. Only trust DNA testing companies with verifiable laboratory certifications. Don't just read them on the website. Call those organizations directly and verify the numbers are legitimate. Takes 5 minutes. Could save you years of identity theft. Never respond to ancestry offers in unsolicited emails or social media ads. Legitimate companies don't hunt you down through Facebook ads targeting your emotional vulnerabilities. If you didn't seek them out, they're probably seeking to exploit you. Research any company for at least 30 minutes before providing samples or payment information. Cybersecurity expert Brian Krebs recommends Googling the company name plus scam and complaints before trusting any genetic testing service. Check the company's domain registration date to ensure it's been operating for more than 2 years. Scammers love fresh domains with no history. Look for physical laboratory addresses and phone support. If you can only contact them through web forums and chatbots, you're dealing with amateurs or criminals. Real scientists answer their phones. When in doubt, report suspicious DNA testing operations to the FTC and your state attorney general. Your report could shut down an operation before it victimizes thousands more people. Your ancestors survived wars, famines, and incredible journeys to create your family line. You don't need fake Vikings or manufactured Celtic warriors to make that story meaningful. The real story of your heritage is worth more than any algorithm-generated fantasy these criminals could ever produce. Protect your genetic privacy like you'd protect your bank account. Because to these predators, that's exactly what it is.